but we are talking about skateboards. And my guest tonight from the group called Let's Go Skate is Jason Emery. So a very good evening to you.
Hello, I'm glad to be here.
Great. So tell us a bit about how long you've been skateboarding and what made you get into it, and how young were you when you got started?
Yeah, so I was about 14 at the time, so 13 years ago or so.
Yeah.
It was popular at school, so I just wanted to fit in really, and everyone started doing that, so I joined in with them, and I got hooked on it. Soon after, most people kind of like moved on to other things as they grew up, but I was still doing it. And then heavily used YouTube a lot. So I know YouTube's still big now, but YouTube was just becoming a thing back then. And I loved just being able to film the new tricks that I was learning and be able to upload them and share with everyone around the world. That was quite a big thing at the time.
Okay. So the term skateboard instructor is probably something many of our listeners are unfamiliar with. So how do you go about getting into this sort of profession?
Yeah, so you ever heard of TED Talks?
I haven't, no.
No?
But enlighten me.
Yeah, they're like motivational talks that you can hear on YouTube.
Okay.
And one day I was just watching one of them, and it was just a little talk about saying you need to, try and make things happen in your life. And I thought to myself, well, I'd love to be involved in skateboarding and have a career in that. What about skateboard instructor? I kind of knew it was a thing. It's kind of happened in America, but it's not really happening too much here in the UK. So I did a Google search on that, and I come across a company, Skates and Ladders, that were teaching in
Skates and Ladders, I like that. Yeah.
They were teaching in London, and I got in contact with them, and they were great, and they helped teach me. So I did a lot of trips to London, learning about that. And then eventually it got to the point where I was able to start promoting it in Huntingdon, and I managed to part ways with them and start up Let's Go Skate.
Great. Okay. So give us a rundown on the types of things that you'll get somebody doing on a skateboard, sort of tricks and that sort of thing.
Yeah. So most of my customers are young people, and a lot of the time they're starting to develop maybe some bad techniques. They've been on a scooter a bit. So it's mainly at the beginning. It's about like getting their feet in the correct position. So I need to make sure that they put their feet on the screws. They start putting their feet other places, they start to lose balance and they won't be very comfy. Correct pushing. I want them to push with their back foot really, not their front. Just all the basics at the beginning is what most of my time is spent doing. They love this trick called the pancake flip. So the board's upside down and I get their feet under the board and then they just jump up and flip it. And it's actually quite easy to do if I'm being honest, but it really gets the young people excited on that. And that's mainly my aim at the start is I just want to get people really into it like I did. And then eventually when they get going, we move on to more of the harder tricks like the ollie. You ever heard of the ollie?
You are teaching someone who doesn't know too much about skateboarding. So yes, I'll learn as we go along, as well the listeners. Yeah.
Yeah. So everyone wants to do the ollie. So that's when we pretty much jump up in the air.
Oh yeah. Well, I've seen. Oh right, I know what you're talking about.
So the ollie's the big one, and that takes a lot of time. So getting some of those really important bits down takes quite a long time. But once a young person starts getting into that, we can really get moving on to the better stuff.
So you mentioned young people. So how young is your youngest pupil, shall we say?
I did get a 3-year-old.
Gosh, right,
once.
okay.
Yeah, that did surprise me. That was cute as well. But normally, they kind of start about 5 or 6.
Okay.
If they're any smaller, they're a bit daunty and they can't really have the body strength to be able to push. But pretty much.
So and it's interesting you mentioned scooters as well, because I've got a nephew and niece, and they are fully into scootering rather than skateboarding. So is that the kind of the craze at the moment for the younger people, is to scooter and then sort of develop into skateboarding, or is it a mixture?
I would like them to develop into a skateboarder afterwards. So my views on scootering is it's very nice and easy to jump on and they can very quickly start to learn, but the potential to progress and do some impressive things isn't quite there. So I think it's fine if they're young and they want to start off on a scooter, but eventually let's try and get them onto like a BMX.
It's a bit like
skateboard.
in skiing. If you've been taught wrongly or you've picked up bad habits at the start, it's very it's hard to then progress on to actually properly skiing after. So I suppose from what you're saying there, if they've picked up bad habits with scootering, it takes a bit harder to teach them
sometimes
skateboarding.
they like to put their feet like together and not back to forth Like, so we have like goofy or regular. If you put your left foot at the front or your right foot, whereas sometimes on the scooter they have them side by side and that, like next to each other, and that can cause some issues for me. But I have to make a decision: do I try and break him out of these habits if I've got the time, or do I just kind of like, because I want him to have fun, so I don't want to be coming down too hard on certain techniques. But yeah, fun's the main thing.
Okay, so is it so just boys that get involved with skateboarding, or do girls like to jump too?
Right, so it's been like traditionally it's been more male orientated. The boys get into it and the girls kind of don't. But as as time's going on, we're finding more and more girls are getting into it. So, as I do a session, sometimes half the children are girls, and I think it's fantastic. There's no reason why we can't get more female skateboarding, because it's not a gender specific sport. And it's really, girls. Some of the girls are better than the boys. Not gonna deny them that. Yeah.
And do you teach on a one-on-one basis, or do you teach in groups, or?
Yeah, so I can do private lessons, so 1-to-1, or sometimes I might get a mum come with a couple of her children, or recently I've started to do more group sessions.
Okay.
When I'm able to do that, people are able to make more friends, and sometimes there's a lot of, someone needs to keep practicing something for 5 minutes, and I'm kind of standing there and there's not too much for me to do, whereas when we get a group session I can like move between people and get them
so it
going.
Keeps you occupied a bit as well.
Yeah,
makes
it's
it more
kind
fun
of
for you as well.
You don't always need me 1-to-1, but that's fine.
So can you share any sort of memorable experiences you've had whilst teaching somebody how to skateboard?
Yeah, I'd love to. I've had a few recently, actually. It was just last week. Emma had a 40th birthday party with me.
Okay.
Yeah. Really.
So how many
rad.
were involved in that?
Yeah, so she got, can't remember exactly, but there's 10 of them.
Okay.
It was all her family members, and I think it might have been her brother's family. So she got the kids involved, and she gave it a go herself. And I just thought that was really rad and cool for a parent to want to learn something with their children. And then just this week, actually, I've got a boy, Cameron. He just learned to go down one of the ramps, like properly drop in. So being able to be on the edge, push down, ride along. And then, just another thing I want to mention, I've got another boy, Harry. Harry's he's got the skate bug now.
Okay.
So he's like really into it. He starts getting into all the fashion, and he's thinking about it all the time, like me. I think he's only 9, so it's good. Yeah, let's get him keep going, and he might have a good future. So.
Yeah, the young disciple of you, shall we say? Yes.
Yeah. I wish I started that young, to be honest.
So, with the UK being, as we hear in the news, in obesity crisis, do you believe that skateboarding could be a very viable alternative to traditional sports, seen to help keep children staying active?
Definitely. I think, like, as you've mentioned, scootering is a very popular thing right now. It probably does have some elements similar to skateboarding. I mean, it appeals to many more children. If you're not into traditional sports and you don't want to have a manager telling you what to do or being part of a team, you're not going to want to do football, rugby, netball, basketball. None of them are going to appeal to you. And in our schools at the moment, that's all we're really doing. So, I know a lot of people that weren't into PE but would absolutely love skateboarding. So I just think, like, you can be an individual. There's no rules. Obviously, I instruct a little bit, but once they've developed the techniques, they're on their own and they can start doing tricks that I can't do, even though with all my experience, and that's the beauty of it, really.
It's evolving, and once they've got the basics, they just evolve, and I suppose that natural ability takes over, I suppose, and all that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Harry starting learning tricks that I can't do. He's getting there, he's close.
Great, and he's only 9, so he's got plenty. Yeah, excellent. So you've even gone to as far as saying that we should be looking into getting skateboarding in the curriculum at schools. Has skateboarding been taught in PE lessons at all up to date?
Yeah, I actually I got in contact with the skate parks around the country, and the guy who runs the works in Leeds was passionate to hear what I had to say and elaborate on what he's been doing. Over there, he's had his team develop a AQA qualification for skateboarding, which is something that's unheard of, really. So he's got a team up there in Leeds that are now doing PE sessions during school time, teaching children how to skateboard, which is the type of thing I think, as I just mentioned previously, we need to be looking into doing if possible, because I know a lot of people that aren't doing PE, and they probably should be. They might give skateboarding a go if it was an opportunity for them.
Because it's seen as rad and cool, as you say.
Yeah,
exactly.
It is, yeah.
So, how have you been able to promote skateboarding in Huntingdon?
Yeah, so when I came to doing it in Huntingdon, I didn't really think there would be much of a need for it, but I've started to find that, as time's going on, more and more people are coming to me and they're able to pay for the actual sessions I'm putting on. So that's great. But it all started off with school assemblies. You ever been at school and have an assembly that kind of thought was really cool and you remember at all?
Yeah. They're the ones that you do remember.
I've got a few that I remember, so I just thought to myself, you know what, why don't I go to a school, I'll approach them and I'll say to them, look, I'm going to do a cool assembly, we're going to talk about skateboarding and I'm going to show off a few clips of something really impressive. So there's a professional skateboarder, Danny Way, and I show a video of him flying like 20 feet out of a ramp, and they all love it. And then, I just say a bit about what skateboarding can do and, do we want to do an after-school club? And that's what I started doing. I got children paying £5 a session, and they would come and do an after-school club with me at the schools around the area.
Mm-hmm. And so how did you get into the assemblies, and did you approach the heads of the schools to do that? Was it?
Yeah. It was just saying to them, like, I've got a cool idea, and they're up for it. And I think it worked quite well, and I'm still running some school clubs. And then, more recently, now that I'm becoming a bit more well-known, we're able to do group sessions and actually get them out in the skate park as well, because the schools don't have all the equipment, obviously.
Sure, yeah. Oh, that's great. Okay, we'll take a quick break there. Whilst we're talking about this, so I'm sure some of our listeners, especially some of our perhaps parents with younger listeners, would be really interested to find out more. Is there a sort of a website or phone number that people can contact to find out a bit more?
Yeah, the website would be www.letsgoskate.co.uk. I'm also heavily on Facebook, so I think, again, Let's Go Skate on there, and I do all the social media stuff, YouTube and Instagram.
So Let's Go Skate is the buzzword to type in, and you'll find out all the details. Great. Tonight we are talking about skateboarding. I've got Jason Emery here from Let's Go Skate. So welcome back, Jason. So we're talking all about skateboarding. What type of lessons do you teach, and where are the venues that you do it at?
Yes, I know we briefly touched on it, and I was saying about I do the private lessons at the skate parks, and I do the group sessions, birthday parties. That was my first birthday party last week for Emma, which was great. So venues are starting to become more and more. Skate parks are cropping up all around. So I've been doing a lot, obviously, the skate park we have here in Huntingdon at Stukely Meadows. Alconbury, they've just got one built last year in Alconbury World, so that's been probably the biggest venue that I've been at. And then I've done a little bit in St. Neots. But for the future, I'm really excited. I think God Manchester and Sawtry are both trying to get skate parks.
Okay.
And they're in the process right now, talking to vendors to try and get it sorted. So that should be really big for me as well, because obviously God Manchester is really close. Another venue to be able to teach skateboarding at and to actually have fun there myself, which would be great.
Sure. Okay. And skate parks are often get associated with antisocial behaviour, and parents may be concerned that children in that environment. What would you say to them?
Yeah, it's something that has been changing over the years. I meet a lot of people that may have a negative perception of skate parks, and I think this is, their roots. It may be filled with drugs and alcohol, but I'm seeing a big change. And in the last 10 years or so that I've been going to skate parks, we're seeing lots of more children being there, more of a friendly environment. You'd notice that even people that aren't working for a company such as myself will still give free tips on how to do a trick on a skateboard, or even if they're on a BMX or anything like that. Everyone wants to help everyone, and it's not really like they used to be.
It's a bit like a members club, I suppose. You just want to see everyone else enjoying the track and doing skills that perhaps you do, and be able to pass those on, I suppose.
Yeah, we all just want to see people get better, and sometimes I get more hyped if I see someone do something. It doesn't even matter if it's not the best thing ever. If someone's pushed themselves to do something that they couldn't do before and they're learning, that's great, and everyone at the skate park will get off on that. And I think it's a good vibe, good place to be. And
talking about skate parks, do they is there a skateboards parks kind of standard, or do they differ from location to location?
Yeah, so something people probably don't really think about, but every skate park is different. You will not find a skate park that is the same no matter where you go. So I kind of think of them as like the playground that you may take your child to. He goes on the swings or goes down a slide. Every skate park will have, they'll have the same similar kind of obstacles, but it'll always be in a different layout, and that's brilliant. So, me and my friends will travel all over the country just going to see different ones because, some of them are great, some of them not so good, but they're all unique, and it's brilliant.
Okay, right. I ask all my guests if there's any sort of favourite song or artist that they like. So you said that you're a big fan of Blink 182. What's the story behind that?
Yeah, they're into skateboarding as well, and just like the rock kind of, I like the rock music, the skateboarding kind of vibe that they give. And I actually went and saw them last year in concert.
Great. All right. Well, just for you then, we've got some Blink 182 here, and this is All the Small Things. So we go. So what? They're big skateboarders, are they? Blink 182, or just fans of skateboarding?
Their drummer, Travis Barker. I'm just reading his autobiography right now. Actually,
okay.
I was just reading it today, a little bit of chapter, and he talks about how they grew up in skateboard and that. And often in their videos, you'll see skateboards in it. So
great. Yeah. Okay, nice and energetic, and but that particular song I know is we were talking off air has been featured in many TV program or ad because it's quite an uplifting track. So we're talking skateboarding, and my next question to you is so as a community interest company with aims of receiving funding, what do you hope to achieve with that?
Yeah, so I'm looking into receiving funding because there's lots of young people that come from disadvantaged homes. They may not be able to afford the private costs of what I run, so a private lesson or a group session, and it's just important for me to be able to offer skateboarding for everyone. Really, a lot of the pro skateboarders, when I find out about their background and their history, they give stories of how it's really hard for them to buy skateboards and to be able to actually get into it. I'm just hoping that I can, get funding so that I can put on events and stuff more to be able to give back to young people that at the moment don't have the chance to be skateboarding at all. And as I say, it's expensive to get the equipment, and then if they're learning on their own, they could be bringing bad habits to the table, which I'd like to get rid of. And then it will help keep teenagers out of trouble. I think skateboarding helped me a lot. I could have got into a bad crowd, but I was busy skateboarding most of the time instead of getting into bad things. So if I can
the more time you're on a skateboard park, the less time you are to doing antisocial behaviour elsewhere. So that's good. Putting all your energy in a good thing. Yeah. Yeah,
the ones that don't have the money to maybe get the board given to them and do the lessons, they could be the ones that go off the beaten track. So
no, I understand that. That makes sense. So if you were to get the most votes for this Mick George skip of gold competition, how would you go about spending that money?
Yeah, so this is something that is going on in Huntingdon right now. If I can get the most votes and receive that funding, I would be able to pay instructors for their time. I'm actually doing a lot of this off my own back, and I don't really give myself much money, if anything, at the minute. So, but eventually I'd like to start being able to do that. So people that are helping me out with their time, they deserve to be able to get paid for that. Replacement of equipment. So I don't know if you've noticed, but we don't always have the best weather here, do we?
Not well. If this week's anything to go by, you probably couldn't even see the skateboard park yesterday with the fog.
Yeah, I have to be. I have to be careful with the weather actually because it can be wet and that can be dangerous. So what will happen is, it starts raining and then the woods get soggy and the bearings and the wheels won't spin round. So, I need to look into replacing the equipment and just doing advertising costs as well for making sure people are aware of what I'm trying to do.
That's a good point. I'd never even thought about that. Is the maintenance of a skateboard. So obviously the wet weather. If it's made of boards and the ball bearings, that they do
exactly.
Get.
I mean, I like to think, and I might as well say this: like, if you're in your car and you're going around a corner really fast and it's puddling, you're probably going to skid, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the same on a skateboard. So just a little bit of wet weather can ruin things a bit. So I'm hoping, hopefully, we're going to get nice sun soon. You know.
And just some sort of tips for any of our listeners with skateboards. So, weather aside, is there any sort of general maintenance that you need for a skateboard to keep it sort of primed to be able to do all these tricks and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. It's more advanced. I wouldn't worry too much if you're a beginner, but tightening or loosening the trucks. So when we turn on a skateboard, we lean on our toes and our heels.
Okay.
And it might mean that some people want it really loose so they can turn more, but then that's you might struggle with the balance. So you might want to make them a bit tighter. And I think a lot of people like it tight when they start because their balance is better, but they can't do the turns. Other things to think about would be just how tight you put your screws in when you're putting the screws onto the skateboard, and then like trying to how tight you have your wheels. I like to have a little rattle when I do my wheels, but you know, it's there's a lot more bits, but I wouldn't worry too much when you're just starting out.
Okay. So we've been talking about the weather. So ideally, you'd like to have an indoor facility that could cater to your needs all year long. How do you believe that this would benefit Huntingdon?
Yeah, so as we were mentioning, you know, rain can really put a dampener on things, and obviously we had snow not so long ago.
Yeah, sure.
Not
yeah.
going to be skateboarding in the snow. So, yeah, I mean, the ultimate goal for me is to get an indoor facility. That would be amazing because it would allow us to teach skateboarding all year long. It's a big goal to achieve, you know, and I'm just starting to try and set it in motion. If I start saying it can happen, you know, maybe the support will be there. At the moment, I just need to develop more interest. So, you know, I'm just telling people about it, coming on here, doing that. Yeah, there's, you know, and I also think there isn't much around for young people to do. I'm trying to think what a teenager could do in Huntingdon right now. If it's wet weather, obviously, 'cause you can go to the local skate park. Yeah, there isn't much to do. So I think a lot of these skate parks are becoming like youth centres as well. So, you know, it's the type of thing that young people will come and do, and would be good for the community, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, they're just basically seen as hip and trendy, I suppose, and so that's what draws everyone to that. They like to be seen at the park, I suppose. That's the talk of the playgrounds.
Yeah, it's a cool thing, and you know, we're seeing like trampoline parks pop up quite a bit as well. That's kind of cool. So we're getting like, you know, these skate parks are not just skate parks now. It's a skate park, a climbing wall,
so it's multi-purpose.
Yeah, multi-purpose. You know, This is the type of thing I think we need to see more of this because, yeah, we need to try and keep our young people a bit more active and not always on the games, the Xbox and the PlayStation.
Yeah, definitely. Right, we'll come back shortly and talk some more. This is Over to You with myself, Paul Chapman, through till 8 tonight, and we are talking skateboarding tonight with Jason Emery. So welcome back, Jason. So with skateboarding being confirmed as an official sport for 2020 Tokyo Olympics, I bet you're going to see a rise in the level of skateboarding interest and activity.
I hope so. Yeah, definitely. Skateboarding in the past has like waves of interest, so I think, you know, it'd be really big. I think it was really big in the 80s, and then it dipped, and it comes back again, and then obviously I think it got really big when I started getting into it. Gone a little bit down, but it's still there, still relevant, and this could bring on a massive wave. I like to think that, you know, do you watch the Olympics at all?
I do.
Yeah?
I have to say I haven't watched much of the Commonwealth Games because it's been on in the middle of the night. But when it comes to the Olympic Games, it's something that I think the whole nation's kind of gets into.
So what's going to be happening is you're going to be sat at home with your cup of tea, and skateboarding is going to come on, and you're going to be like, whoa, and it's going to enlighten you on things that will be, I think it's going to be mind-boggling for some people, you know, and.
So what do you know what the disciplines will be in at the Olympics? Is it going to be sort of like in height of a jump, or is it going to be done on individuality? Or
okay, I'm not 100% sure. I think there's going to be like street. So street skateboarding will be a lot of technical stuff. So they'll be on the rails. They'll be doing some gaps, and then I'm not sure. I think there's a park one. So
okay.
Park will be in the bowls. Doing more of the airs, the more of like what you'd expect from Tony Hawk. I think Tony Hawk won't be there. He's getting on a bit now. But I just really think it's worth saying that, you know, what we're seeing in skateboarding right now, and it's always kind of been like this, but it's becoming crazier now, is children are being just as good as the adults. So, I mean, what I see on social media, some of these boys and girls that are, you know, not even 10 yet, are doing things that the adults can't even do, and I don't think there's any other sport that I can think of where the children are able to, step it up and compete on a level with the adults. And we're seeing, we may see a gold medal go to a teenager, which will be really impressive. Yeah.
So you mentioned, what was his name? The 11. No, not the 9-year-old. Is it Harry? Did you mention? Was it?
Yeah.
Would it?
My
It's
Harry.
probably too early for Tokyo, but maybe the Olympics after next, he may be representing GB. You never know. Yeah.
If Harry keeps skating, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I do. I go out with a friend quite a lot. His name's Joe. He's in Cambridgeshire, and I think he may have what it takes to represent Great Britain. I'm throwing him out there. A little
Okay.
shout out to him. But
What for Tokyo? Yeah.
yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the qualifiers are going to be happening. They were meant to be happening like any day now. I think they've postponed it a bit.
Okay.
It might be later on in the year or next year. So the qualifiers will be going, and obviously we're going to need people to represent our country. So
Yeah.
why not you, Joe? Hey.
Cool. All right. That's a call to arms there. Definitely.
Yeah.
So. Let's summarise what sort of message you hope to get across to our listeners this evening and that have tuned in. We've covered quite a lot here. So in terms of the funding, in terms of getting people active and so forth, what are the main messages again that our listeners should sort of look out for?
Yeah. So if you've had a bad perception of skateboarding and skate parks, I'd like you to have another think about that. Things are changing. It's a much better environment now. Get behind it. We need to keep children more active, as we say. And the media is always telling us about obesity crisis. Like I've taught children that may be classed as obese that are really getting into skateboarding. And I think that's rad. They could lose weight doing that. They keep active. It's good for them. You build friendships as well. So, I think that's cool. I remember meeting all my new friends when I started skateboarding. I would like the support for the Mick George Skipper Gold competition if possible. So I did do a social media post on that on Facebook. So if you did check Let's Go Skate
So
on
if
Facebook.
for that, what do our listeners need to do? They need to go onto the Mick George website, do they, for that?
Yeah, so it might be hard to find if you go through straight like that, but I did put the link on my own on the Let's Go
On the
Skate.
Facebook.
Yeah,
Okay.
so if
All
they found Let's Go Skate on Facebook, it wouldn't take long to scroll in. I did a vlog. This is the thing now, and all the YouTubers do their vlogs. I gave that a go, so I talked to the camera. And then, if you are interested in having lessons, of course, the website again is www.letsgoskate.co.uk. I'm actually doing a session tomorrow morning. So hopefully doing more and more stuff like that in the future. And if you're interested, or you've got a child that started skateboarding, or you want to get them skateboarding, just get in touch and let's see what we can do.
And do you? I know you do this alone with some helpers now, but do you belong? Do you know any others across the UK that's kind of? Do you belong to a kind of a network of people like you?
So it's not really, but I think obviously with the Olympics coming, there's organisations being built to probably help. So I haven't actually got an official qualification or anything that I do. I've got experience, but I know that, there are courses now available for instructors to go on. Maybe I should look into that sometime, but it's not, it's getting there. And, obviously, lots of other companies like myself are starting to start up. And I'm just hoping that, Let's Go Skate can be the entity around Cambridgeshire and, yeah.
Great. Okay. Well, thanks for coming in. It's been really enlightening, and hopefully our listeners, if they're either young or old, go to the website letsgoskate.co.uk to find out more, and we could get you up and running on skateboarding in no time, couldn't we?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are. Plenty of parents do it with their kids. I think that's cool. Get
Great.
involved.
All right. Thanks for coming in. It's been really interesting.
That's great. Thank you.